How to do a quick accessibility audit. If you're looking to get a quick sense of how accessible your page or application is, you can use this process to quickly evaluate where you're at. But keep in mind, while this is a quick test and might help you identify some of the most obvious issues, it isn't going to ensure that your site is WCAG compliant. I want to talk about our steps and what tools we are going to be using, then we can get started with the audit. To start, we want to make sure we have downloaded and installed the following tools. First, we need Headings Map, which is a plugin that you can get in the Chrome or Firefox stores. Then you want to get a plugin called Landmarks. Again, this is from the Chrome store. Next, you want to install Axe DevTools or Wave Accessibility Checker. If you Google them, you will find links to download them both. The first step is to check out the page using automated tools. During the demo, I will show you what to look for. Next, we want to use the keyboard to move through the page and check that we can get to every interactive element on the page and that we are maintaining the Z-like pattern. Our last step is to repeat our keyboard testing, but this time we will be using a screen reader. We will be listening to make sure that everything has a clear and meaningful label. Keep in mind, this is something that takes some time to get used to. Now we want to take screenshots of all the issues we have found and describe the issues in more detail so that our devs will be able to understand what the problem is and how to resolve it. For this demo, I will not be creating a document or taking screenshots, but it's worthwhile to keep that in mind while we work through the page. Now let's get started with the audit. It's called Accessible University, and it exists specifically to test and practice accessibility testing. And so the first step I want to do is I want to check the heading structure. I do this to get a sense of if the page is structured correctly or not. Visually, I can see that this should be a heading, this should be a heading, but there should be some kind of heading to tell the user what the page is about, but that doesn't exist. This Headings Map tool shows that this red line here, which means there's no headings. If there are headings, it will usually show the structure of the headings, and it always highlights which ones are wrong with a red highlight like this. First thing right off the bat is that this page does not have heading structure. Next, I'm going to look at the landmarks of the page, and we can see that there's only 3 landmarks here. I'm going to show the landmarks and kind of hide this, but we're seeing that there's lots of content here that isn't being wrapped in a landmark. Specifically, the navigation doesn't have a landmark on it, and scrolling down here, it says content information, so maybe it actually is coded correctly, but this is certainly a sign that this page does not have the appropriate structure that it would require. Okay, the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to test with Wave. We have 16 errors, 11 alerts, 4 contrast issues. So just clicking on the details here, just by looking at them, they look like contrast issues. Some other types of issues we're seeing here are some missing labels. Visually, there's a label, but it's not associated with the input when we're using a screen reader. And then also we have these errors here about alternative text. I'm just going to open the code here. What we have is an image tag without the alt attribute in it. So we have some suspicious text here, suspicious alternative text. It just has AU and then a series of numbers and a GIF. Like the alt text for this should be Accessible University. Close Wave now. And I'm going to right click and I'm going to do inspect, and I'm going to look at Axe DevTools. So I'm going to scan. I'm looking here and I'm seeing elements must meet minimum contrast ratio. This is the same issue most likely that we were seeing before. What else do we have here? Language attribute. So this is one that you definitely need to make sure that you have included a language attribute. And this is going to be on the HTML tag. If you don't include the language attribute, then the screen reader might not necessarily know how to read the content of the page. Images with alt text, the same issue we had before. Form elements are missing labels, the same issues we found before. So here we have links and they say click here. This is 2 issues. One is that the link text is click here, but the other issue is, well, that it's not underlined. Generally, we want to underline our links so that they stand out. The document should have a main landmark. Yeah, we looked at that already. We found there's no landmarks on this page. Page should contain a level 1 heading. Again, this is the same issue that we had identified earlier, and all the content needs to be wrapped in landmarks. Again, the same issue that we've already identified with our other tools. The next thing that we would do is testing with the keyboard. So I'm just going to click on the corner here and start pressing tab. I'm moving into this menu here. Here, this is a little bit difficult because I have to press tab to move through all of these. And generally a user who's using a keyboard might want to skip over this. So probably the right idea here, or the right approach, would instead be to allow the user to open these menus instead of opening them automatically. Another thing that's really standing out here, though, is that the focus state is a change in color, and it's making giving it even lower contrast text. I'm not sure where I am right now. We kind of like just bounced somewhere. I've lost my focus here, and so this is a problem. We're moving through here. Okay, so these form elements now, they do have a focus state, but that's a weird focus state. Generally, we want to be enhancing the focus state, not removing the focus state. We want to have a focus state here that really stands out. Okay, I'm not sure. Focus has disappeared. The problem is that these checkboxes do not have any focus state. Again, our submit button has no focus state. The border, the outline just disappears. So I'm going to click on the submit button. It says there's an error, but it's not telling me like where the error is. It's not giving any suggestions. So the inputs don't have any indication on them that there's an error on them. There's no way to fix your errors. There's no way to know that you have errors here. I don't even know that I could control this carousel with the keyboard because the focus just disappeared. And so a lot of times when we're testing, especially doing like a spot check, like we're going to find that there's issues on the page and they're blockers. Like a blocker here would be that there's no focus state. And so I can't really complete my testing because I can't figure out where I am in the page. Now that we've done the automated testing and we've done the keyboard testing, I'm going to turn on VoiceOver. So I have the screen reader running now and the text is showing up on the bottom here. Now I am going to start tabbing through the content.
Link. About. List 4 item. Link. Link. You. Menu. Act. Link. Link.
One thing I'm noticing here is that when I had the screen reader on, I'm not sure that I can get to this Accessible University. I would think it was a link. Now I'm just going to play around the menu here.
Link. News. List 4 items level 2.
Okay, so I tried to use the arrow keys because sometimes when you have navigation like this, you should be able to use the arrow keys to move through the list, but it doesn't allow that.
Link. Governance. Link. Diversity. Link. Contact us. Link. Governance. Link. News.
But also too, these links don't actually work, so we're not going to play with them too much. Okay, so one thing we're seeing here is that it's telling you that it's a list of 4 items, which is good because it's at least telling you that it's a list, which is helpful to screen reader users. Here is a perfect example of when you're using the screen reader here. Let's listen. It says click here.
Visited. Link. Click here. Link. Click here. Visit. Link. Click here.
So we have 3 links that say click here, and presumably they're going to different pages, but they all have the same label. So a user would have no idea where clicking on the link would bring them. So I'm just looking at this country here.
Unchecked. Checkbox. Edit text. Blank.
And we already identified that this is an issue because the label wasn't associated with the input, but we're finding here now that it just says input. It doesn't tell you that it's a country selection.
Unchecked. Unchecked. Checkbox. Unchecked. Unchecked.
We already knew that these don't have labels, but now we're finding out that they're just checkboxes, unchecked. There's no label. There's no description. We have no idea what they're about. So we've tested out this page. You probably noticed that a lot of the issues that we found with our tools, they helped us spot or discover where we would find issues later on when we were using the keyboard and the screen reader. I wouldn't rely too much on those automated tests at the beginning because while the issues on this page were like really kind of easy to spot and identify, I would say that generally speaking, the issues aren't easy to identify like this. Now that you have seen how to do a quick accessibility audit, it's time for you to try it out yourself. Find a website and repeat the steps that I have gone through and collect your findings. If you have any questions about how to do a quick accessibility audit or any other accessibility related questions, let me know in the comments below. Thanks for watching, and if you found this video helpful, click that like button and subscribe for more content like this.